Hello, hello, hello. Slightly delayed start to the new season of streaming because I was tired and I didn't feel like doing it before. Real quick, people know we're live. I don't know how many people are going to actually join. Hopefully, a bunch of people will watch it. Later and maybe learn something. It's a kind of video that you can really watch for years and years and years. Alright, well, that was weird. Because what we're doing today is we're going to watch a few videos. We're going to talk about what it's like to do a video analysis from a low level, from a medium level, and from a high level. Where a low level is probably 2 years of steady work at fencing, enough to have a basic idea of what you can do, what all the moves are, and medium level is probably like a high C, B level in the States where you can put it all together and you have a decent game plan, no really obvious holes, but nothing quite fits together, and there's always definitely one level to go. And the high level is the level I'm at now where a couple of wins in World Cups. Maybe my analysis skills are better than my fencing skills. And we're going to do probably 3 different fencers. We're going to start with Borel. We're going to watch each video 3 times. And then we're going to go to somebody like Kano, who's less... hey, that's me. Who's less classical and clean. And then we're going to finish off with... No, that's not what I wanted. One of the crazy new kids like Imri probably, who's just totally wild and out of it. Maybe we'll wait a couple of minutes for people to join because there's nobody watching right now. Well, while we do that, I'm going to get my head on straight and figure out what exactly... Nope, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. We should be looking for. So first we have our beginner fencer. They are 2 years of fencing, knows all the moves, no larger strategy, lots of holes. Okay. And this is assuming somebody like a kid or somebody mid-20s maybe. We'll try to mention what you can do if you're physically limited, like you're hurt or you're a vet or just really out of shape. But mostly it's going to be aimed at people who are looking to get much better, looking to get to the next level, which is hard to do in a physical sport if you're not already. You can't see any of this. There we go. Not already either athletic or capable of becoming more athletic. No, I just not go down there. I'm gonna that's not what I wanted. Okay, so I can't just, so we got that. Yeah, okay. No. Like that, okay. And now this should be visible. Yeah, okay. What are they looking for? If you're a beginner fencer and you're watching this, you're looking for inspiration. You're looking for, wow, that was a cool move that Borel did. I want to do that. And it doesn't really matter if you're understand what he's doing or why he's doing it. Just doing things at this level like the top fencers do will get you points. And it'll be fun. And being fun is the important thing anyway. You're looking for inspiration, but in terms of what to do, you're looking for inspiration in terms of what's possible to do. So if you see Yannick feint parry lunge, you might not necessarily realize or really realize that it's possible to do that. And if you don't know it's possible, you're not going to even try to do it. So you try it, you do it, suddenly you've unlocked a whole new section of your game. And then move recognition. It's one thing to stand there with your coach as you're just learning to take a 6 and say, okay, I'm standing here, coach is doing an exaggerated attack, I take a beginning level 6 and it works. And this is an important part of the process. Everybody starts at this kind of a low level, but it's you build on that to know, but it's important to be able to recognize that element of the game in the high level. They're still taking 6 just like you do, but you have to be able to, it's good to be able to recognize that it's what a high level 6 looks like. And then kind of leading the question here, but what are they doing that you're not? And the answer here is going to be moving a lot, but we'll see what else we can find. Okay, now let's see. It's a high C or B level in the States. The CB border is really the big bottleneck in the States, where if you can get your B, you're a competent fencer, basically. I don't like saying that because it's classist, but you don't have any more big holes in your game. You're capable of doing anything, of putting together a game plan. You know when and why to do stuff. No major holes. So that's who you are. And you're looking for say new combinations. why, technical improvements in terms of why is Borel 6 so much better than mine. New combinations, technical improvements, always inspiration. But it's just less important at this level because you're already committed and presumably passionate about the sport and having fun in however you participate. And call it possibilities this time. Where possibilities are new moves, combinations. Like this is all combinations, but it's different reactions you can get. I am on the low end of the World Cup circuit. I am overjoyed to be there. I never thought I'd make it. It is one of my life goals I never even thought I would hit. And I'm going to do it from this analysis level because that's, like I can't analyze it at Yannick Borel's level, or I would. And when I look at a fencer, I'm looking for, actually tendency should probably go here. I'm looking for so it's a lot of, like, I don't need to know how Yannick Borel takes a 6 anymore. I know how to take a 6. I'm always working on it and improving it. That's never going to change, but it's between me and my coach, and there's very limited I can learn from watching him just because it's so small technical details. And it's not like his 6 is basically as good as mine. His 6 is much better than mine. But the farther you go in any sport, is the smaller the differences get. So my 6 is much closer to Yannick Borel's 6 than it is to your C-level fencing 6, even though we're basically as far apart, relatively speaking. So these are three archetypes we're going to be analyzing today. We're going to be looking at 3 fencers through each of these. I'm going to pull this off screen somewhere I can see it, but you can't. And then we're going to go on from there. First fencer is going to be Yannick Borel, very clean, fast, classical fencer from France. He's been basically the best in the world for God knows how long. I'm hitting the yellow, so we're going to lower the mic volume a little bit. If you're here, say hi in the chat. If you're got questions, please let me know. So it always works better when it's now we just started with passivity. Okay, so we're going to start with the beginner fencer. This is fine. There's not much you can learn from at a beginning level from what doesn't happen, even though it becomes hugely important later, I think. Oh, this is a highlight reel. That's definitely not what we want. Here we go. Borel Santarelli. Okay. Yannick Borel on the right. So it's really, as a beginner fencer, what you want to be doing as much as you can is just looking at what they're doing. So you see Yannick Borel goes low, you think, okay, he's going for a foot shot. I've learned how to do that. This is bad quality. This is not even a great one either because you can't really see the blades, but it's fine. Maybe you can't see the One more try. We'll give it one more try to find a good video of Yannick Borel. Doha Pereira. Hopefully this has a good recording. Eskrima usually does. Nope. And if you note, we're not using the fencing database for this because it's not great. Yeah, we're not using the fencing database because we don't want to just see the actions that work. We want to see the actions that don't work and that almost work. Oh, that's one we just watched. Fine.
Ana Clara Frank Rodriguez.
All right, much better. Now we can see the blades.
Hold. Clock had started.
Okay, so we're looking for inspiration. What do we see? We see a lot of 6 here. So, you know, you go to your next tournament, you go to practice, you start taking 6 from your opponent. Yeah, you can show the boards on the coach. Yeah, sometimes HD is not quite what you want, but we suffer for our sport. One thing you might notice at a low level is Ciclosi goes for the foot and comes right back up again. So you say, okay, I want to try to do that. And then you go when you fall over and you think, okay, this is something I got to work on, and you become a better fencer for it. Looks like we missed it. There it is. Goes low, comes back up. One thing you might notice is that how close they are is probably not something you want to do, but it's worth playing around with, certainly as a beginner fencer.
Passivity cards.
You can see them poking at the other hand, so something you might want to pull from this is that you know, they're always ready to keep going. And that's something you can work on as a beginning fencer. See, Yannick, you can hear the blade contact even if you can't quite tell what's going on. And so you should be able to recognize that when there's blade contact, somebody's doing a beat. And in this case, mostly it's Yannick. And so you should be able to recognize that Yannick Borel is doing a beat. And that might take a bit, and you should...
Double. Opens the scoring.
I really don't like this guy because he's just posting the videos for no reason. But we'll watch this one and then find somebody else to get the other ones. Depending on your coach, you may or may not have learned half step. And so you can see Ciclosi doing a half step here. Half step back if you look at his feet. And you start learning, that's Gautier Grumier, one of the best fencers of all time. You start learning, oh look, he's doing it, my coach taught me that. This is something I can use my whole career.
Well, asking for a video review.
Okay, so just for what happened there was Yannick Borel flashed, missed, Core. Coach said core, no touch. Yannick wants the. There's the core, but it's definitely caused by Yannick.
No card for turning.
Oh. That's what he wanted. Never mind. So we have what to do, what's possible to do, what's different. And if you look at, so let's keep talking about the beats, because I think that's going to be like a big feature of this bout. Hey, cheese curl.
Big for Borel.
So, what does your beat look like when you're a beginning fencer? It looks, unless you're like this, and you just whack at their blade. And so now you know that Yannick Borel is doing a beat. You know there's blade contact because you hear it. I hope you hear it. You know, you know he's doing a beat because you hear the blade contact. You can see him eventually. Maybe you rewind a few times. You can see him. You can see the hand motion that corresponds with the sound, so you know when he's making the beat. And you can see your beat looks like this. His beat looks like this. Twist of the wrist. And you say, oh, okay, I need to be making my beat look more like that. Maybe we'll do this per period. This is like a lot of time to watch. 3 times in a row. We'll do this per period. Okay, so first period was beginner fencer. We learned move recognition. Okay, I can see so closely doing this half step that my coach taught me. I'm moving my feet and you can't see it. I can see. You heard it, Borel as a customer's officer as a side job. I have heard the same thing, but I've flown to France a few times and never saw him. Anyway. So you see Borel doing the beat and you see it looks nothing like your beat. You see him going, and so you start making your beat look like this. You see him beat flesh, and you know you try to beat flesh and you can't ever get your point back on target in time. And you see him do it and he does it really well. So you know you're missing something. That's sort of the inspiration for what you do.
Scored his first.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the second period from the perspective of an intermediate fencer. Yeah, this is pretty epic. My coach is working with me on not doing the windshield wiper beat. This is pretty epic specific information in terms of doing a beat. Foilists do much bigger beats because they're not doing it for the same reason. A foil beat is for holding right of way. Chat isn't showing up on screen. Thanks for the heads up. There we go. Okay. Foil beat is for taking right of way, and epi beat is for shocking in your opponent and drawing a more complex reaction. And so they're used for different things, and so they look very different. And I'm not confident enough to really say that this little tiny half beat is good for foil too, just because they all hold the blade very different. An intermediate fencer, you have a game plan. You have no real holes in your game. You lose because you can't maintain a high level for long enough. You have a couple of minor technical issues. You have a couple of technical issues that don't quite match up, but nothing really bad. And you're looking for new combinations, technical improvements, possibilities, and you're starting to analyze for tendencies as well. Okay. So when you're an intermediate level, who's taking aggression in this match? And well, it kind of looks like so closely, right? They're already back into Yannick's half of the strip. So close is really taking control of closing the distance and opening the distance. So that's one thing to look out for when you're doing mid-level analysis is who is controlling the distance, who is being more active.
Takes a step back, hits in the counter.
And one thing you might take for your own fencing is how close they are getting. Distance is weird because it feels much different than it looks from outside, so you should always be videotaping yourself. But if you can tell how close they are and still making threats and taking parries, that's something that can really help a mid-level fencer.
Another double.
So that's new combinations. Is this what is Yannick Borel doing with his beat? Let's continue this beat narrative. So closely is pushing, and Yannick is beating. And so what's the beat doing here as a defensive action? Well, first I think it's probably just distracting Closely a little bit. You gotta keep thinking about his weapon and not just the distance. And really Yannick's using it as a form of distance control. If every time Closely tries to close a distance, Yannick beats. And so if Closely doesn't retreat after that beat, then Yannick now has a half tempo of advantage.
And another.
And even when he doesn't have that half tempo of advantage, he still manages to pull a double out of it. So pretty safe action, especially when you're 3 touches up.
The scoreboard says Gurgly Closely has 5 points, but 4 of them are from doubles.
New combinations, possibilities, tendencies.
Borel asked for a video review.
We're getting out of this. That's so annoying.
Nothing was out of order.
So tendencies. And you're so closely, and you see Yannick is constantly beating your blade.
Oh my.
And just recognizing that is itself a good bit of analysis. Being able to see what your opponent is always doing. Because then you can say, okay, what's he doing? And then you can build into why. And then you can build into how do I deal with that or work around it. It's actually working real well for this. And then you can do some fun analysis on what you can do to get around it. You take a guess. You say, okay, well, maybe go low high, maybe come in more absence and try to draw the counter out at your distance. Just guesses, just anything, because we're brainstorming here, so it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. Guess and then see what Closely does and see if it matches your guess. And by the same token, when we're looking for technical improvements, you don't have that beginner beat, but maybe you have a 2-tempo 1-2 beat, and you say, okay, well I can never use that beat for anything, and you see Yannick's got this 1-tempo boom flesh, and you say, okay, I can see that I need to make my beat cleaner and smaller, even though it's already a decent beat considering I'm a B-level fencer.
Clock running down. End of the second period. 10 for Yannick Borel. 6 for Gurgly Closely.
So here we are, beginning of the third. We're going to analyze this as an advanced fencer. I am looking for distance control and just interesting moves where I think they're committed and they're not. And I'm looking in terms of pressure. I'm looking in terms of what kind of commitment you're getting. I'm looking in terms of potential holes in terms of not just what they're doing, but what they're not doing. Which, as I say it, I don't know what you mean by funny. He's oversized. His uniform is kind of yellow just because that's what happens when they get old. I think that's all I got. He looks fine. And I totally lost my train of thought. Right, okay, so it's not just now what they're doing, but what they're not doing. So for an intermediate fencer, we were talking, okay, Borel's beating, what could I do about that? And then you say, okay, I said this, it closely did that, great. But I'm not just looking for what he's doing, what you can do about it. I'm looking for why and why he doesn't do something else. So for example, so closely did not go low. We said that was a possibility. Why isn't he going low? And from my perspective, he's not going low because Yannick is really already looking to counterattack. So if he tries to go low against the beat, Yannick is going to just straight flush him anyway and still pull out a double. So it's not actually that he's avoided the beat, but he hasn't avoided the threat behind the beat.
Trying to urge Gergely Siklosi on, but it's hard to win a gold medal when all you are getting is doubles and you're in the trailing.
Okay, so what's happened here? We've got Yannick Siklosi has changed his rhythm a little bit, where he's coming in arm back and then extending. And so Yannick is looking for the beat when the arm is back, and then he extends forward into it after the beat is over.
The double.
And he's getting very close a few times, pulled out a double, which is not great because it's 11-7 now. But now you can see it's forced Borel to change because he's doing less beats, more counters that aren't working as well, less committed counters. Slow advances from Siklosi, pushing. And another double. Still, the thread of the beat is holding Siklosi so far out.
Borel could very easily just double his way to victory without Siklosi.
And so it's that little bit of extra distance Siklosi needs, and how do you want to get it? Oh, that's unfortunate. So now Siklosi is looking to catch the counter in 6.
While Yannick Borel is,
and then you just not quite finding it. Yeah, he's huge. He's so built too. He's like he's so strong. There we go.
There it is.
That time
Siklosi gets his first solo hit.
Oh, that's awful.
In this gold medal match.
So that's the distance working for Siklosi's favor, where he finally drew out the counter he was looking for.
It's now or never.
You know, he's pushing, but he can't push too much. Phenomenal distance control where Borel gets just far enough back to avoid the touch. And pulls in another double.
Another double. Yannick Borel.
So I still think Siklosi is definitely scared of the counter here, because he's just not ever going for the foot, even though it's really pretty there for it. He's getting deep enough he can do it. Yeah, Siklosi's just trying to find the blade now as best he can.
The double will do it.
Okay.
15-11. The final score.
Any questions so far?
Siklosi. only scored one solo.
Okay, we can see the blades, which is always good. Okay, this is the second of maybe 3, maybe 4 analyses we're going to be doing. Kano Koki, who is not an extremely weird fencer, but he is short, especially for an epais. He is very fast and he's very dynamic. Where Yannick Borel was clean and really didn't move a lot, Kano is very much more dynamic on strip. For the first period, we're going to be analyzing it as a, hey Battle, nice to see you again. We're going to be analyzing it as a beginner fencer, which is 2 years of fencing. You know what all of the moves are, even if you can't quite do them. You're still working on putting them together. Nothing's really instinctive for you yet. Can you do a match with an Italian fencer later? Sure. Do you have a specific request? Surprise you. Can do. So Kano, in, out, always active. Hell yeah, always love the fence and grind. And I think this is important, not necessarily from an analytical perspective, but from a just good fencing perspective as a beginning fencer. Your default state should always be moving. It's hard to do when you have to think about what you're doing, but if you're always moving, you're going to be in a better place than if you're not moving, even if you're not moving for anything. All right, 2-1 to Ho. So hello, Custer. So let's see, what are we doing? We got more beats. Lots of distance control. Stepping. Could you tell that was a 6 if you're a new fencer? You should be able to. Okay, that was actually really important. You're a new fencer. You're probably been taught 3 footwork moves, advanced retreat lunge, and like 7 blade moves. 4 parries, advance, 4 parries, half extension, flick maybe. And so you're thinking in terms of fencing moves. But watch this. Watch this as soon as I find it. Ho goes for the foot here. And Kano, that was a 6. Here, Ho, you've got a vid to analyze you. Yeah, we'll do that later. Send it in the chat or DM me on Discord or something, and we'll do that in a bit. Ho goes low. And Kano defends with his feet. And if you're a beginning fencer and you're watching high-level, mid-level fencing, notice all the times that somebody defends by taking a step backwards and try to work that into your game. It's forward, push, draw out the counter, then step back. And maybe step back with the parry, but the step back is the important thing. There it is again, the go low and defend by stepping back. You might notice if you're a beginning fencer all this high extension stuff from Kano and how it's not going anywhere. And so you might want to work that into your game. Something where you like extend and then pull your arm back and extend and pull your arm back. And one thing I had and have a lot of trouble with is disconnecting my arm from my feet. So if you extend and every time you extend you take a step forward, that's bad. If you can extend like Kano does and not take a step forward, that's very good. So then you can take a step forward and then extend, or extend, pause, and take a step forward. And then you get different reactions from your opponents. So yeah, another extension, another attack from Ho that Kano just retreats away from. The third thing you can really look for here as a beginning fencer is patience. Look at all this movement Kano is doing. And we had almost a minute between touches. And then Kano just never ever went. So if you're a beginning fencer and you're looking at this, you might think, wow, I only get 10 seconds between touches. Kano gets 40, 50 seconds between touches. I'd better slow down a little bit. And then you might think, wow, I do not have the energy to do that. And so you might think I should go hit the gym and start running more. And you would be right. Oh, you run plenty. TPR, I see you. You run plenty. Okay. We talked about patience. We talked about extension without commitment from the foot. All things that are good for a beginner fencer to recognize here. And really, the overall point is that the things the high level fencers are doing are the same that you as a beginner fencer are doing. This isn't like gymnastics where your beginner gymnast does like a front flip and your Simone Biles does a triple wolf turn. It's the same stuff. It's the same moves. And you can recognize that in a high level fencer and say, hey, they're just like me. All right, mid-level fencer, can do all of the moves, can put it together okay, some technical issues, can't quite put together a really good overall strategy. And what you're going to learn from this now, I think it's probably active distance control. I don't want to do the analysis. This is actually trickier than I thought because I'm analyzing it. I don't want to analyze it. I want to talk like I was trying to analyze it. You're a mid-level fencer. You're looking at this. You say, I don't know where that flush came from. And you would look at this a couple of times and you would say, okay, Every time he jumps forward, Ho comes back in return for a counterattack. So that's what you would be looking for here as an intermediate fencer, is what is the reaction Kano is getting that lets him pull off a flush like that. And you can tell Ho is going forward because, well, you can see these prior actions. You can see Ho is coming forward, but if you didn't know in advance, you would want to go back and look for that. But look here. Look at his body. He's leaned all the way back because his momentum is going forward and he can't take a step back. So you say, okay, wow, he really caught him out in this position. How did he know he was going to be taking a step forward? And you would look and see the pattern that Kano set up. And Ho got the parry too, but he was so out of position he couldn't get the riposte in time. So you would say, okay, let me look for the patterns. Patterns is a really good. We have that in as tendencies, but patterns is a good word for it. Kano pushes, pulls. And you know, Ho's pretty consistent with this counterattack. He's much bigger, he's much longer. He's really, really, really trying to keep Kano out of distance. Oop, hurt. Because slight raise check. So that was Ho being a little bit more proactive with it. And so now you would say, okay, Kano found this forward back pattern. How is Ho responding? And the answer is by starting to push back himself, apparently, and not taking that initial step back. So if you remember, the original pattern was Kano pushes, Ho retreats, Ho comes forward, and then Kano pushed, faked the retreat kinda, Ho came forward, Kano fleshed, and so Ho is just not taking that initial step back, and he's breaking the whole pattern. And you know, that's what it is in this case, that's the answer, but as a mid-level fencer, that's what you would be trying to figure out. What is this pattern? How does it change as they fence? And then you would say, okay, I see this is how Kano and Ho are fencing, and they're in the T16 of a World Cup. What kind of patterns can I recognize and punish in my opponents? And if they're recognizing and punishing my own patterns, how do I stop that? And this is one of those places where video review is so useful. So Ho still wants that counter. Kano still wants to punish it. Kano gets the punish. See what happened there. Go back a little bit more. So here, if you can't tell this is your chance to guess what I'm about to say. Think it through, see if you can figure out what's about to happen, why it's about to happen, and why it's important. Think about what we talked about before with the original pattern for Kano's fourth touch, and think about how it's changed here. Kano push, Ho doesn't go back immediately. He stays close. Push, and now he goes back. And so Kano is now getting very close. Ho doesn't quite pick up on it. Does his usual counter attack, or you know, that short attack, and Kano punishes it with a quick flesh. Do you think that kind of pattern recognition with individual fences works in Saber too? Or is the adjustment too large? There's not enough of a data set to make broad adjustments in a single bout. It is so much more important in Sabre, honestly, because it's so much harder to adjust. You have to, you can sweep 6-7 touches in a row in Sabre if you can pick up on something good like this, just because it happens so much more quickly. And so it's very important to be able to do this kind of pattern recognition. I can't go into specifics as much in Sabre because I'm not a high level Sabre fencer, but it's so important. Your opponent jumps forward, jumps back, jumps forward, and you know they're looking for a parry at that point, a forward parry, so you disengage the parry and go. You know, every time you jump back, your opponent you realize your opponent's trying to counterattack every time you jump back. So take over every time you jump back. What do you focus on then? The first importance is always distance. The second importance is what your opponent's reaction is likely to be. And then your third importance is how do you draw out that reaction at a place you can control, which is where distance comes back in. And so prep is this whole process. Tempo is a measure of your commitment, is the way I use it. Distance is the basis of it all. And so you prep and your opponent tries to counterattack, but it's at the wrong distance because you chose to prep. You know, any kind of a swipe, you know, you feint forward, they try to parry or post. But they're too far away, so you can counter parry. Confidence is super important, knowing you're doing it right, especially in Sabre. Experience, knowing why it doesn't work, knowing what the adjustments are after that. And of course, you're not fencing a robot, you're fencing a person who's going to adjust right back at you. So you always have to be aware of what's happening. Okay, we are still talking about intermediate fencers. We are still looking for patterns here. That's this bout's theme, is pattern. Okay, so what happened last time? Ho did a small attack, got hit. Now he's doing a really long attacks. Almost caught Kano, and it was safe from the immediate riposte. So now this is another adjustment in this same building process here. Okay, so that was our second period. We're talking about mostly patterns and how they evolve and change over the course of a bout. Get hit, change the pattern, find the new pattern. Okay, now we're going to do this as an advanced fencer, looking for who's got control of the distance, still looking for patterns, still looking for how much can you do with the minimal commitment. So I'm looking for, here I'm really looking for opportunities to score that don't require lots of commitment. And what I see is Ho comes forward into, that was it, that was what I wanted. Ho comes forward, not really into Kano's step, but after Kano's done, so it's Ho's control, pushing him back. And there, Kano is going for the arm, going for a wrist touch, and does it again. He's slow to go back, and so Ho can push and push, and when Ho pushes and Kano goes for the wrist, Ho finishes in, and so Ho gets a touch. And that started from Ho taking control of the momentum of the bout, pushing, and Kano trying to get tricky with the wrist touch and it just not being there, or maybe not quite capitalizing on it. Big step forward from Ho, that's kind of punishable. Kano big jump in, but that's a jump in as an invitation, not a jump in as a threat. And you can see because he took the immediate 6. But it was good on him because he didn't go overbalance, and then just better fence with Ho there with going around the 4. Now they're both kind of jockeying for position. Oh my god. Kano's so good. What even happened here? Ho goes low. Sorry, this was just a phenomenal touch. Ho's pushing. Goes for the foot. Kano dodges. Push. It's this boom. And it's that little bit of commitment forward from Ho that Kano, I can't even tell if he times it or if he just knows it's coming. I think Ho is double pumping. 1, 2, 1. Yeah, so Ho is double pumping. You're going 1, 2. And Kano sees 1, and flushes. And then misses, and is somehow so balanced enough you can flush again, and Ho is just totally caught out. So that was pure pattern recognition from Kano. A really good touch. And now Ho's scared to push because he just got whooped for it. Or he's going to push very slowly. And now Kano is almost pulling because with a minute and a half. Oh my god, I got the wrist. So Kano's trying to draw out some kind of a big action, but Ho is very low commitment with it. And so he just hits Kano while he's waving his blade around. And Kano knows who's being stupid. That's why he reacted like that. Good counter from Kano. Ho is really going for the low line, I think, to avoid the 6. Which is like a thing we talked about before, I think, where it's not just what they're doing, it's what they're not doing and why aren't they doing it. Ho is not going high line. Why is Ho not going high line? Because Kano keeps trying to take 6. And so Ho is going low line to avoid the 6. But Kano's so fast, he's just skittering out of the way. And then, until he doesn't and gets the counter instead. We are going to be doing a video review section after the next bout. So if you have any video you want me to review, post it up and I'll tell you what you did wrong. And there's that 6, right? We talked about this. I just said it. Ho doesn't want to go high. Why doesn't Ho want to go high? Because Kano will take 6. And what do you know? Ho goes high and Kano takes 6 and gets the touch. You can barely see it, but that's what happened there. because he knows he finally got punished going low. Seeing Kano get a counter like that as a beginner FPS is insane because I was suffering against French grippers who couldn't exploit that extended distance. Kano still gets it while it's discernibly shorter. Damn is correct. Kano's so good. That's insane too, right? Because what do we talk about? For an advanced fencer, you're looking for minimizing commitment, and so Kano here flushes. And his commitment ends here, right? Like, you know, he's mid-flesh. He sees, fully committed to the flesh, gets parried, sees he's already here, seeing he got parried, and he's able to do another move into it, taking this 4 here, which is insane. And Ho is so mad because he knows he deserved that one. And it's that kind of level of minimizing commitment that I'm like, can I do this? Can I make this work? And the answer is probably not, but I can do something similar in terms of like a lunge. Like I can make a bigger lunge and then drop into 4. Maybe. That's so good. That's such a high level touch. I don't even know if he planned that, if he's just that good. And there's another counterattack. This is why you defend with your feet. And this is not a high level thing. This is a low mid level thing. Because if you're high level, you already know this. Kano jumps backwards with his feet to leave his blade open to score. Oh my. Yeah, it's really crazy. It looks so uncontrolled, and yet so many of these flushes ended up with second reaction and intention at the right distance. Yeah, he's fast. He's really, really fast. I actually didn't realize that about him until watching this now, but yeah, those are crazy. I will say also part of what gives him the ability to get these second intentions is that Ho is really off balance. He's getting well into Ho's distance and isn't capable of doing, and Ho has to make really big actions to clear his body and then really big counterattacks to get around him. And that's giving Kano the time he needs, but it's still crazy. And that's 15. And right. No, what? I don't want to go back. Okay. I think our last one will be Sam Imri. And we're going to say a lot of, maybe don't do that if you're a beginner. I don't know who this guy is, but we'll watch it. I mean, I know Sam Imri because I don't know who James Seminole is. Oi. You should never, ever, 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 ever be in the gold medal bout with a yellow card for non-working equipment. You should never be in the yellow bout with a red card. Would that be correct distance or just really good second intention despite Kano's commitment? It is not just correct distance on Kano's part. It is a good understanding of when and how Ho is committed to going forward. So it's not just that Kano is flushing at a distance when he has a high opportunity to score. He's flushing in a situation where if Ho wants to do anything about it, he's going to end up off balance and taking big actions. And then once he gets the big actions that he wants, and then once Kano gets the big actions, he can go into second intention. So it's very fast reflexes from Kano to be able to recognize I missed second intention. It's very good timing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always, always, always your opponent's actions also. For a low level, you really want to focus on what you're doing because your opponent at a low level is very bad. And so if you know what you're doing, if you have control over what you're doing, you'll be able to hit them because they're doing something wrong always. At a mid-level is when you want to be making that transition. You want to really have already done that transition to what your opponent is doing. And then at a high level, it's tiny, tiny details that make the difference. All right. You are a beginner fencer watching Sam Imri. What to do, what's possible to do, what a high level action looks like, and what's the difference between what you do and what he does. Okay. I'm just going to say this. Sam Imri's a really good fencer. You should probably not be learning from him as a beginning fencer. Unless you really want to do something fun. But it's so hard to understand why he's doing what he does, it's not going to make you a better fencer. And if you don't know the why, which tells you the when, you're not going to be able to do it. You're just going to get hit. Right, so straight counterattack is a thing you should know how to do as a beginner. And if you want to be able to say, okay, how did that one work? It's going to be hard. How did that one work? It's going to be hard. Actually, that one's pretty good because you go... Look how much his body changes between here. Actually changes a lot. Look how fast he gets back is the thing to look for here. So see if you can do that while still actually hitting the foot. But like, committing to the foot is the important thing, and not overcommitting. Because if you pull back before you finish your action, then it's, then you're never gonna hit. You have to finish your action. Okay. If you're a beginner fencer, you should be very careful watching this. But one thing you can learn from Sam is confidence on your actions. If you make a good full attack at a reasonable time, your opponent has to deal with it. And if your opponent has to deal with it, they're not countering you. If you make a good... Be right back. Going to give this camera operator a tripod for Christmas. Be nice to Cyrus. He does a lot for the sport. If you do a good attack, your opponent has to retreat. Your opponent has to take a bigger action. And that gives you the time you need to get out of the way. Especially if your distance is reasonable. So if you don't crazily overcommit to your actions, but you do them full extension and confidently, then your opponent's going to have a harder time hitting you than you might think, even though they catch you with a parry. Or even though you miss, is a better way to put it. Summer Nationals is the biggest tournament in the world, and both of these fencers, I'm sure, are exhausted. So it's not exactly the best. Makes it easy to find who I need to send the tripod to then. I mean, he's got a Patreon. Patreon.com/Cyrus of Chaos, probably. You should donate to him. He does do a lot for the sport. Definitely one of my inspirations when I started fencing. When I started not fencing. Yes, when I started fencing, I watched his videos. But one of my inspirations when I started doing fencing videos.
They're also like totally back. Yep.
See? Full commitment attack. Manages to get back out of the way. And yeah, Sam's quick, but he's that helps too.
The only way to put it. Half curled up hedgehog. How about that?
Constant motion, always important.
Guy went low, short guy went high.
Yeah, I picked this intentionally knowing this was going to be like this, but this is just a weird bout because of who Sam Imri is as a fencer. We'll talk into a lot more of that when it gets to the middle and high level of fencing.
Not consistently.
And we are also intentionally concentrating on Sam for this first period because that is where most of your focus should be as a beginning fencer.
Very successful, but it is interesting. Nice touch.
And that was just silly from Senewald. So yeah, if you just keep moving, your opponent will sometimes give you opportunities to hit them. Good counter.
Still the first period. Oh my god.
Sam's extension is really, really good. So if you're going to take anything from his game, you should look at that. It's very fast. It's very straight. He's very good at hitting the hand.
That was interesting.
What should you be doing with the blade in neutral for French grips? You should never ever be doing anything without reason. Your hand should always be trying to do something with it, unless you're so out of distance that it doesn't matter, in which case it doesn't matter. We'll talk more about chickadee. We might not make it to the third period. So if we don't make it to the third period, we'll watch the second period twice, the first period twice. We'll talk more about what Sam's doing with his hand in the second period, but your blade is a tool you should use to apply pressure to your opponent, and so there's never a neutral position. You come with it back, and then you extend to change the distance feeling, and it's just always be doing something with it with a reason. Never just do it randomly, if that makes sense.
Unsure of those little bounces.
All right, we are not making it to the third period, so we'll watch this bout. Then we'll watch it again as as a intermediate and then watch it again as a senior because this came out so fast.
So he needs right now. Huh?
And counter. All right, that was Sam Imri as a beginning fencer. You might think, haha. Really, you should watch this as an entertaining bout as a beginning fencer. Think of it as okay, so this is actually important. As a beginning fencer, you don't want to take anything specific from this bout. What you want to take is this notion of fencing as an open sport. It's not, your coach is giving you a list of moves and you want to use those moves, but how you use them and what you do with them, there's so much creativity involved in how you fence that you can do things totally different than everybody else and still have a lot of success. And so it's important when you fence to play around with this, to have a sense of play when you're fencing. That's what you should take from Sam Imri.
All right. At the beginning
All right.
of this whole alliance.
Now we're going to watch Sam Imri's same bout as an intermediate fencer. We're going to do the same bout, so I have a little bit more to go on. Instead of rewinding 20 times, I'm going to rewind 10 times. Straight counter from Sam. So this is something Sam does a lot, is arm way back to arm way forward. Really, really messes with your sense of distance if you use the arm at all and threat if you don't. You feel a lot more threatened with a blade in your face. Why does his style work? Shouldn't someone like James, who's a taller French, outclass him in his own style? French grip is not a style. French grip is a blade type. You can have lots of different styles within French grip. And it works that, you know, by the end of the next watch through, you'll know why it works. I think James Senowald on the right here is tired. I think he's not thinking as clearly as he could, and he's not as active as he normally would be. And Sam is taking advantage of that. But it's, what are we looking for? So Sam is not fully committed, but not quite undercommitted enough to get a reaction from, to not get a reaction. He's getting a reaction and then it doesn't work at all, and James is just not punishing it. So Sam's going to keep doing it, we'll see. And you know, one thing you can notice here is Sam's footwork. He's always got his legs bent and ready, which is very important for moving. James is tired. That's not... What's James doing here? So this is intermediate fence. We're starting to look at what the opponent is doing. Yeah. So Sam is flushing into his step forward, which is fine. Senowald is taking the parry, which is fine for him, and he's just not getting the riposte in because he's so tired. So this is what happens when you're tired. This is why you should hit the gym.
See that one because I was behind him. So.
Double attack. Senowald just has like the longer arms. Yeah. Senowald's kind of guessing here with that ducking 6. Yeah, same kind of deal. It's a Imri is flushing into the step forward. Senowald is parrying.
He tried to get the move back a little bit, and then I think he was just like, whatever.
So here Imri is using his counterattacks tactically, and it doesn't quite work. He's poking at the hand, trying to get James to slow down, and James just attacks into it. Straight attack from Imri. He's so fast with his hand.
That would have been crazy.
So that was low high. And if you don't have a low high pattern, you should probably get one. High, high, low, high.
That would have been crazy.
And honestly, looking at it from Senowald's perspective more, he really should be winning this bout. That's 3 or 4 touches he's caught the parry and just hasn't been able to punish it. Which is, you know, important.
They're also like total.
So if you were fencing Sam Imri and you would say, okay, he likes to flush into somebody's step forward, but his distance isn't great on it, so I'll just step forward and actually hit my riposte this time. And Imri's staying active with his feet, small steps back and forward, which is more threatening than it looks like.
Sam looks like a little goblin in that position, doesn't he?
Okay, let's talk about this, because this is like the ultimate Sam Imri thing. Actually, we'll talk about it next round. So Sam now looking for a counter, trying to draw him in.
Sam looks like a little goblin in that position, doesn't he?
And full extension out. And that's actually a really big distance change. From hunched over like this to full extension flesh. And that's a big part of his secret. So that was the change in center wall. That was the step forward, draw the flesh, and then instead of trying to take a parry, he just counters, but he gets a double out of it instead of a single, which he should have. So let's see if he continues with this change in the pattern. Nope. Steps in, and then just Imri just hits him. Sure, same. I'm sure James is exhausted. Yeah, he's so he's so high in his on guard. He's right.
Not consistently.
Same kind of deal. Big flesh. Can't do anything with it. Stays in place. You should almost always be taking a step backwards when you parry. Yeah, that was the one before where he's looking and looking, and then Sam just hits him. So if you're an intermediate fencer and you look at this and you say, I just had it in my head. You say, you might not necessarily look like fence, but you say, okay, James is tired, and Sam is pretty clinically taking him apart as a tired fencer, and he's doing that by not overcommitting to stuff. And that would be a good thing to learn as an intermediate fencer when you're starting to make your way deeper into tournaments like Summer Nationals. If you can stay patient through it and not jump into your opponent's traps and wait for a good opening, that'll make you go even farther into Summer Nationals. And also have a sense of when the ref says halt. And then this is just, you know, James flesh. You see, James is exhausted. There's no setup. Sam counters. Sam pushing. And counter. Alright, so that was an intermediate fencer. Okay. As an advanced fencer, which is me, we're going to look at why Sam Imri does so well despite his unorthodox style. We learned from the intermediate fencer that there's not actually a lot we can learn analysis-wise from this bout. I already know, in theory, how to fence tired fencers. I already know what to do against an opponent who's very passive and doesn't set things up. So we're going to talk about why Imri is so good. And one of the big things he has is range. And not just effective range, perceived range. He's got his arm very far back, and so they're at tips crossed, which is, you can see where his arm is and his arm is. Sam's arm is farther back, and it's going even farther back. And then he goes from there to full extension, back, back, back. And the perception of an open range he gets by holding his arm far back is what draws his opponent in to open them up for the actual range on the counter, which is also extremely far. And Sam's distance is really good. He's always landing right just on the other side of the bell. And he's got a really fast extension when he does it. So what that means is also you have to respect the effective range of Sam, but his arm is so far back during it, you can't really engage with it at all. So you have to threaten the body, which is automatically a bigger action. It's very difficult to deal with. And that's part of why he's hunched over, is it pulls his arm even farther back. And he's very twitchy and fast, and that's a big issue. You come in with your arm out, he'll poke your hand, and he's really, really accurate on those hand shots. So there's not a lot of actual forward motion here, right? It's just extension with the flesh, and because it's a low commitment, he's got the time to do this remise. So you look at that, especially so far back, and then he's all the way out into the flesh, and there's not a lot of explosiveness on the flesh, but it comes out very fast. And the distance change from the arm is what gives him all the time he needs. And he's kind of blocking out there. I didn't quite realize it the first two times. So he's finishing the flesh so early that he's able to respond to the riposte. And that one was as much impatience as anything else, honestly. Good counter there. So the thing to do if you're fencing Imri is never, ever, ever overcommit. You really have to be always aware of the threat of the counterattack and the counter flash. But he's willing to give you space to set them up. So take the space and trap him on the back line and then just wait for him to do something. Is really what you have to do. Be active, be active, be active. Because his flush is very fast and his lunge is very fast. But it's relatively less explosive, and so you can see even Sunwald is getting parries on it, even though he's tired. And so if you can get the parries and land your riposts, you can do that. You just have to be very patient in what you do beforehand. Like here, you should wait and wait and wait. Do I think Ho is the best French grip in the world right now? No. I think Minobe is the best French grip in the world right now.
Tall guy went low, short guy went high.
Elsayad's a much better French grip. I think Yamada is a French grip. Even Sam Imrich's top 10 in the world right now. Like he's not any slouch.
Not consistently.
That's an attack you gotta hit. That's just Senwald won that touch and just couldn't pull it off.
This is some creative infighting that I'm seeing. Unfortunately, it's not being very successful, but it is.
I think the real. I wonder. I keep coming back to Senwald's fourth touch when he caught the counter on Sam coming in. I'm wondering if that's not the key to doing it. No, I don't like that. So the idea is Sam counters, his arm's coming from all the way back here. You put your tip here, he runs onto it. Try going for yours. I don't like that on a theoretical basis of it plays into his game. What I'd rather see is he draws out the counter and you manage to stay balanced enough. What options other than beats and binds do short pistolers have against tall Frenchies? I feel like you haven't been paying attention to the stream because we covered a lot of options. Control of distance, find a pattern, exploit the pattern, draw out a counter and take the 6. Take a 6, take an 8, take a 4. Draw out the counter, hit them on the hand. Catch them going forward, flush when they're off balance. Remise around, attack, disengage. Control the distance and you have lots of options. Watch Yuval Freilich, he's really good at this. The danger, of course, is Sam does have a really good flush. So if you're waiting for him to fall short, he might just keep going. At this level, there's no easy options. So if you can get the counter and then go back.
These are both really jumpy. Not jumpy, but
Foot touch, they tend to have big steps. Yeah. Fritz is an NCAA fencer, I know. He's pretty good. His advice worth listening to. As long as you don't tell him I said that.
that's what he needs right now. Huh?
Fake flesh is a very high commitment action. It's much more about what they're looking for in terms of hi Lizzie, welcome to the stream. In terms of trying to hit you, so step in with your arm back, but like a small step, and then quick retreat as soon as they start countering. Lots of pressure. Some people will respond to pressure by attacking. Well, look at this fourth touch again, because it's a good example. Look at this fourth touch again, because it's a good example. Look at this fourth touch again, if I can find it. That's nothing.
He tried to get the move back a little bit, and then I think he was just like, whatever.
So he draws out the counter here by just pushing and pushing, and then he knows Sam is looking for the step forward, so he gives him the step forward, but he sticks his arm out and puts his point where Sam's going to be. So that's a good example of looking for the counter. Okay. We're going to do the video analysis that Battle asked for, and then we may or may not do the okay, Battle, you here? Battle, you here? Okay, I'm pretty sure Battle on the right, because it's a saber mask. But we're looking at the guy on the left, because that's his new friend who's really good. Okay, early good steps. Pause. Early good signs. Knees bent, body straight, well balanced, tip moving cleanly. I think I already missed it. Small step, finishing the step. Not a good sense of distance. We're looking at the guy on the left, right? Yeah, I can tell it's super slippery. It's awful. Now it doesn't feel threats. Okay, good disengages. Late with the hand, which is really important for early fencers, just because it gives you a good sense of, like, you do all the hard things right and you miss because your hand is late. It feels awful. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about him. All of this is about the guy on the left. That was pretty good. Didn't overcommit to the hand, almost got it. Only got 4 minutes. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, so the biggest issue is low and late extensions. want your extensions shorter and just a little bit above it. He's coming out down here like this, and so he's kind of just ending up into no man's land under your arm. And his distance is too close because he thinks he can't hit from that far away. This hand guard is actually pretty good. So maybe you could nitpick about having the hand a little higher, but this is fine. And what's important here is that his tip is up. And what you should work on with him is literally just stand there and hit a pad on the wall and just make sure his extension keeps the tip up all the way through the extension. Where's my pen? Here's my pen. So what he's doing right now is, this is his extension, tip up. He's going like this. And you can see his tip is ending up like way down here. If you keep your tip up through the extension, your tip ends up way out here. It just makes everything flow a lot better. And then you drop it when you get to target. Just, good advice for everybody. Took me ages and ages and ages to learn how to do a good extension. And honestly, it's only until like this year that I'm really confident in mine. You're running at him with your hand back. So yeah. It's so hard to say anything on this floor is the truth. I cannot stress enough, you need to go to a real floor because you can't learn to fence on something like this, and also you just might get hurt. I want to say, have him work on deep lunges. I'm scared to have him lunge on this floor. I thought it's dangerous. But that's the thing to do, is have him work on really separating the extension from the lunge while he's a beginner. And work on range. Like, have him stand how far away he thinks he can hit you, and then have him take like 2 steps back on a good floor, and then have him extend and lunge and see how he actually hits you. We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. I didn't see that. Yeah, this floor is really awful. Alright. Let's watch one Italian and then we'll be done with this stream. That'll take us to 2 hours. Yeah, explosiveness is like overrated. You want smooth, you want fast, you want smooth, you want control, you want long, you want direct, you want minimize movement, you want to minimize startup time. And then after that, if you get to, then you can start worrying about explosiveness. We're going to watch a video on 720. We're not going to watch a video on 720. We're not going to watch SARS filming from the crowds. I have no idea who Dabia is, but this is a... We'll go watch some Synth early. Okay, this is our last beginner, intermediate, community advanced. Alright, so for beginner fencers, we're looking for move recognition. Pretty bad watch since early dominated. I mean, it's around the 64, and I don't know who Debia is. So you're probably right. Fine. Borel we watched before, and Cyrus we're watching now. Sorry for the bad camera, TPR. Alright. So what was that? That was feint lunge. And really, if you're beginner fence and you can recognize this as feint lunge, then you're doing good.
I think whoever wins this bout is going to be world champion.
That's a 6, that's a 4. That's some sloppy infighting.
Should have gone around the head, dude.
Should not have gone around, don't go around the head. So Santorelli is interesting because he's much more static than the other fences we've watched so far. But he's still moving, he's still standing. That's a 2, that's a 2 riposte. And so this is what you want to do as a beginner fencer. See if you can list off all the moves that they're doing and then see how they score from that. Like that 8 riposte is crazy.
Totally caught Santorelli sleeping there.
So Santorelli's retreating, you can see you retreat. You know, hand shots, your coaches probably had to work on that. So maybe you recognize these as feints. And so one thing you should learn as a beginner fencer is that most of the time if you do a good feint, your opponent's not going to respond, and that's okay. And that was a 6, you should be able to know. And if your opponent, if you do a feint that's so big and obvious that your opponent always responds, it's too easy for them to punish, and it's a losing proposition. That was 1-2 parry and then missed the riposte.
There are no duplicate countries in the top 8. That's interesting.
I think that's William on the far strip. That's cool. When was this? 2019? Yeah. Such a cool fencer. So you see here Santorelli going back and forward, back and forward. That's something you can use in your own bouts, even as a beginning fencer. Just to play around with it and see how it works. Back, forward, back, forward. I saw a very good junior girls fencer to like 5 steps back and forward, 5 steps back and forward. And every time you use it, it works amazingly. And I don't know why. And then I'm like, I should just use this all the time, and I never do. that was close.
Slap him on the foot again, why don't you?
Ooh. Low high. That's probably something you can play around with as a beginning fencer. You know, try to hit the foot, try to hit the arm. And then you see how fast he's going low high and you try to match it. Honestly, the big thing is to say, wow, this is really cool fencing. I want to be like that someday. Wow. Oh, no. This is such a good bout. This is literally like two heavyweights throwing haymakers at each other, and they don't even bother to like block. They just, I'll hit you harder than you hit me, and you're gonna fall. End of the first. Oh no, Cyrus cuts those out. Come on.
Flips scoreable again. What are we looking at?
All right. End of the first, beginning of the second. From intermediate fence, we're going to be looking at pattern recognition, technical improvements. There's going to be a lot of those. It's probably what we'll focus on here. Like, you probably have a pretty decent low-high. You probably have a pretty decent 6. Probably have a pretty decent high-low. But can you hit a high-low like this? Can you even threaten a high-low like this and then recover safely? I mean, probably not, or you would be better. But it's worth checking out. Now, you might think you have a good one. Now you see how much farther you really have to go. One thing we haven't talked about yet that we probably should is speed changes. Borel's went slow fast, Sorrento's going slow fast, so slow to so fast. It's just another way to create opportunities. That was a threaten high, threaten high, threaten high, threaten high, snap low to the knee. That's always so painful. Six flick to the foot. Is that something you can do as an intermediate fencer? It's crazy. If you can, that's like your special move. Is like your best touch is 6 flick to the foot, and this is just something Santarelli is doing like randomly.
Santarelli's having an argument with the coach.
Wow. Santarelli cannot believe that Borel pulled a double out there. Borel probably can't believe Santarelli pulled out a double there. I think Santarelli's taking a breather. He hasn't done anything in a while. Oh, never mind. Oh, that's so annoying.
That was wild. He's right though.
Oh my god. How did they not get rid of the rule after this? So what happened here was you have a minute to score. If you don't make a minute, halt non-combativity. A half a second after he called halt, Borel got this insane touch.
He just does stuff like that.
Another double. This is gonna make it to the third period. This is crazy. Centrelli just hopping in. This is such a game of brinksmanship where they're just getting as close as they can. Arthur wanted to know about the blade work, but like I don't think blade work's that important, so I haven't been commenting on it. Just
Saber counterattack.
they're so close looking for the parries. Yeah, your Centrelli Borel is one of the best matchups. You're totally right. This is absolutely insane. Second left. Crazy blade work. So if you can do your 2-6 like that, that's a really good thing for technical improvement, is smaller parries. So I'm looking at how close they are, and I'm seeing just an absolute game of, as an advanced fencers where we are now the third period, I'm seeing just an absolute game of brinksmanship. Yeah, he was too slow on that. It's how close can you get and not commit wrongly. That was one where Centrelli got the parry and one where Borel got the counter. And that parry is the crazy blade work Arthur wanted. And just, if you tie, nobody hits, or you get a double. And there's been a lot of no hits and a lot of doubles. You can see Borel flinching when he wants to go and he halts himself. And it's not even an opportunity for Centrelli because he does it so fast. Oh, good touch. All right. That was a great bout to end on. That was so much fun. Thank you all for joining the stream. I hope you had a good time. I sure did. I make no promises when the next one is, so follow me. Join my Discord if you want to know. And other than that, have a good day and happy fencing.